I can put a note. He's back.
All right, good morning. We're called to order the ad hoc Harwich Port Parking Committee. This will be recorded and taped as required by law. The town may audio, video record this meeting. Any person intending to either audio or video record this meeting session is required to inform the chair. First order of business is going to be the minutes of the February 5 and February 19 meetings. All, may I have motion to...
You should do them one at a time because Mike wasn't at the last meeting.
Oh, okay. All right, so we'll do the February 5, 19 meeting. Do I have a motion to accept it?
Motion. So
Second.
Second, okay.
Sorry.
Oh, what was that? All right.
You need an all in favor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Now, may I have a motion, please, to accept the meeting, minutes of the meeting for 2/19?
To accept.
Motion to accept. What is it?
Second.
We're all set then.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All righty.
Okay, thank you. I that too.
All right. The first item of business today is to discuss the timeline for the business to provide, the final, ooh, this is not going to work well, the final numbers, employees utilizing the, and the work schedules for coordination with purposes of transportation.
Like how John just looks over at me. Want me to jump in here, Mr. Chair?
I'd appreciate that.
Excellent.
I already said Ms. Williams provided an update, so.
Let me just jump right in. So we've been feverishly reaching out to the various businesses and have heard from a fair amount. And I have the meeting we were supposed to have Monday, which we had moved our meeting because of it got snowed out. So I'm meeting with them tomorrow. But some of the ones that I wanted to hear from, I have heard from, and are in favor of the possibility of a shuttle. Because, as I explained, what we're looking to do is acquire more parking in the public lot for the patrons that are coming into the town, for the businesses. So I still have a few more to hear from, but I want to just meet with them tomorrow, the Harwich Port businesses, and discuss other things that we're going to talk about, but this too. So I think my suggestion is going to be that next we reach out to Cape Destinations to talk with them, see what the costs would be, what a timeline would be for the schedule of shuttles, because some of the businesses, their shifts are either a 9 to 6, 9 to 8 that use the public parking, or then you've got the restaurants then that go, say, 1 to midnight, we'll call the shifts, depending on if they're open lunch, if they're open just dinner, such. So I think that would be my next step, is to meet with them, talk to the shuttles to see what it's going to cost, and then what they may suggest, and then see if some of these businesses maybe would like to sponsor it, and see if we can do banners on the buses, and that'll be a way to promote their business. Just to kind of come up with some cool marketing aspects to it too. So I'd say for our next meeting, which I don't have it in front of me, I would be able to then report back with the final numbers and timeline from everyone, because they are the ones that this really, really pertains to are coming in with the numbers. So.
Okay, that's good to hear.
Yep.
And the next meeting is the 19th.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It says on the agenda.
I wasn't looking at that. I was trying to write my notes. Thank you. Smarty pants. I'm multitasking over here.
Oh, my computer is jumping. Okay,
Great.
stop jumping.
There's a lot riding on this timeline.
I mean, what I can do is reach out to, when I
You
get
can only
back to
do
the
so
office,
much with it, though.
Cape Destinations, see if I can meet with them, and then email all of you guys, this is what they've come up with, and then just on the 19th, make our, I mean,
What,
And we do have a meeting on the 26th, so we do
Yes.
have a cushion.
but it's, I was gonna ask, what's the board feel, if anybody has an opinion with regard to how much of this cost information you think should be presented to the Board of Select Board in order for them to make a relatively well-informed decision as to whether they're gonna have to move, or want to move on this at all? Is that our place?
I don't know that, really, since it's not going to be funded by the town, I think truly it's gonna be up to us at the chamber and the businesses to come up, and Cape Destinations, to see what we can come up with for this year, to see how this works.
My-
I agree with that. I think the town is like providing, I mean, like, you look at Chatham, what Chatham's done, they put a ton of money into parking, right? Because it's a huge thing.
Right.
Now, the town of Harwich could do that, and maybe they should support it to some extent. But I think for what they're doing for right now, what we're doing, I think to kind of get it off the ground, is we're providing the parking space on Bank
Yeah.
Street, right? So
Yeah.
that's the town's kind of contribution.
Yep.
And I think maybe from the other perspective, it doesn't really need to apply, as long as this is our direction, this is our proposal, this is what we're looking to do. The details could be worked out between the businesses and Cape Destination.
Right.
Maybe they can do a season pass or
Right.
something like that for each employee, or however they want to work it, but I don't know that that needs to
Yeah,
kind of bog down.
Because, like, from
discussion.
the town's perspective, like, for, like, the future, and we're gonna get into this in a little bit under new business, but there's an option there that, yes, then we would need the town to help support that, if
Right.
that's the route. So,
Right.
we'll get into that in a minute.
And I agree. I
Yeah.
don't think there's any need to, you can put a note in there that it's being worked out between the merchants and the chamber, or
Right.
Yeah,
in-
exactly.
merchants and Cape Destinations.
Right.
But
Yeah, once that conversation's had with them, and I
Right.
had hoped to have, a call into them this morning, but I got sidetracked with some other things I was working on. So, first thing when I get back, I'll reach out to
Okay.
them and get
Yeah.
that going.
I mean, it's almost a guarantee at some point, the cost, which would be incurred by the town, is gonna be asked.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah.
it just is it. All right, new business with regard to discussion of the parking lot kiosks.
Oh, no, you missed update on 203,
Bank Street, when they're
Bank
gonna be
Street?
out.
Oh,
when they're gonna be out.
oh,
That's me.
yeah,
I get to type and talk.
yes, you did, didn't
Good
you?
thing I'm not doing
Oh, my computer has a mind of its own. I did reach out to John Rendon, sent
Okay,
him an email saying what we were looking at doing, and when he thought the site would be clear. They knew Ellen Harbor Marine, I believe, is the outfit that is now storing boats at that location. They do have to be out completely by May 20th. And he also has some equipment there that he hopes to have out by that date. So that is the timeline.
That works perfect.
yeah,
Yeah, because then Chris Nickerson and the paving could go in.
it. Lining.
Lining, thank you.
Assuming that-
Lining, thank you. So then that would work, and then as long,
Yeah, as long as the selectmen say yes.
Right.
I mean, this is all predicated on, we can only make the recommendation.
right.
so then for a timeline, I mean, we're looking at mid-June anyway, that we would want to start, because schools are out by then, and then that's when the heavy parking challenges would be taking place. So if it was like a middle to June to just after Labor Day, that would work for
Okay.
us.
Okay, with regard to the parking lot kiosks,
So I have done some investigating.
Can
Oh,
I
sorry.
just- No, that's okay, you guys are going faster than I have to catch up on what we just said.
oh, sorry.
There will allow ample time for the line painting. Right, line painting.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
So in regards to the kiosks, John had sent me some pictures of some that he had seen in Hyannis. I'm working with Hyannis to get their contact information, because they've worked with a couple of companies, but I had also found one that I've talked to. Roughly for just one kiosk, and some of the stuff that goes with it, not including software because that's different. I have to get their quotes still. Just for one, which is the unit, the cover, it could be hung on the wall. It's about $6,400 before the software. So we're probably talking, not knowing what the software is going to cost. If you figure on the high end.
Is that for purchase or is that for lease?
Oh, no, purchase,
Okay.
yes.
And that's no install, correct?
Correct.
No power, no?
No.
So that's
And that, I mean,
before, so it's before software?
before software and power.
Power, okay.
Yep. So there are two spots. There's one spot at the chamber on the porch that would be covered that has electricity right there. So technically, we really could tap into that. So we would have, all we would have to do is plug it in. So we would have one location that we could always try the kiosk the first year.
My guess is it's not a plug-in, it's probably a direct wire.
Yeah, I-
But even still, that building's not that old, so it should be a pretty easy
Right.
tie-in wherever they do it.
Exactly. So, so that's just 6,400 for the unit. That doesn't even include, so if you wanted to just go on the rough estimate, say 10,000 per unit, I always think a little high just to give it some cushion to make sure before we, but that's where I think we would then, getting back to my comment, where we would then go to the town and say, okay, we're gonna need funding somehow for this, to take care of it.
But then there's other costs associated with regard to.
Maintenance.
Well, maintenance, but I'm thinking patrolling it.
Well, the other thing with it being right there, you've got the volunteers that are then, people will then come in for 20 questions. That's why if it's on the deck,
No, I realize that, but if somebody goes in and parks and
Yeah.
doesn't do what they
Yes.
need to do, there
So-
needs to be a patrol for ticketing. 'Cause-
Right,
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Maybe we think about increasing right now we have a position and a half parking enforcement officer through
Mhm.
rec department. Maybe they increase that to two full-time in order to maintain that. Because unfortunately, the amount of stickers that they're writing are not going down. We thought that would be
right.
it would go
Yeah.
down over years, but it's not happening. But they're sworn to write tickets, I mean, to do enforcement.
Now, that kiosk, if my memory serves me correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, there's a ticket stub that has to be.
Yeah, you put it in your,
and-
on your
and
dash.
placed back, on your dashboard, but then when you
Doesn't
go
work
back
on
to pay,
motorcycles.
when you, when
We're
you
gonna
go,
get you a little lanyard.
when you pay for it, there's usually money that goes into it.
It's all credit card.
Credit
these
card,
days.
yeah.
You got,
No?
not everybody carries money. What I'm saying is,
Yeah,
I just, this is
Yeah.
an example, I mean, I use one off Cape, location, and when you get through, you put your $3, $2, $1 in, but it does go into the machine in which you receive a ticket, which allows you to go back out. There's generally cash involved because even though technology is moving rapidly, not everybody carries a credit card.
I'll find out about that component.
And I know there are ones where you actually, you're in space C3. You type in, you're in space C3.
Okay,
And then they do it that way.
all right,
And there's somehow that they can read that,
yeah.
but, I mean, there's so many different ones
I
out
think there's a
there.
lot more logistics to this
Yes.
than simply the kiosk.
Right.
Yeah.
Is what we-
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And the other thing that I would bring up is that should it, if the decision is made to put in something that requires money, there's going to have to be something in place where when it's opened up and the receipts are taken from it, how and who is going to handle that?
no,
And it has to be a very well coordinated
right,
system, fail-safe.
right,
So it just,
No, it's,
yeah. It's more to it than just putting in a
Yes.
pretty little kiosk and, getting your sticker or your ticket to,
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I think for us, really, the whole idea of the shuttle for the employees is what's gonna work best, because we're also working with the shared parking idea of, the banks. I'm waiting to hear from the people that own, the CVS Plaza to see, if they would be on board for the nightly. So,
Me personally, I'm just not really in favor of kiosks, and we talked about that a little bit from the get-go as far as paid for parking. I just think that it's kind of a little bit of a deterrent. People come in here and they wanna enjoy Cape Cod, they wanna enjoy Harwich Port, they wanna shop, and now they gotta think about this and worry about that. And Jesus, if we get over the limit, we gotta go quickly and, can we have our tab, please, so we can get out of here, and we gotta go, I just think it's not a very friendly, inviting thing to the town. I think what Cindy says, if we can work on the other things, other proposals. I was actually talking to Dennis Miller, who owns some property in Harwich Port, and I was talking to him about parking potential, and even behind the Mad Minnow. I wish I had thought to bring more copies, but he's got some extra grass at the end of his parking lot that he said could be opened up to the town, which would probably provide another 10 to 15 spaces in through here, if we added that.
Yeah, that's also a planning issue, however,
it might
because
be. I'm
of
just
green
throwing- I'm
space
just
and that.
throwing
And I
that out
actually
there.
talked to him about that last year.
Yeah, so I just think that that would be, in my opinion, more of a better approach to take. I just, I know that P-Town, I guess, is the one town on the Cape that does charge.
yeah, P-Town Hyannis says,
Hyannis
yeah.
does too.
But that's only for the
Yeah.
the ferries and such, right?
Yeah.
They
No,
don't
it's
have,
open to
Not
whoever
Main
wants to
Street,
use
though.
it.
Main Street doesn't.
Not Main Street, Ocean Street docks.
yeah, that's
Right
what
there,
yeah,
ferries.
yeah.
But you can't park along Commercial Street and all the other streets for nothing. There's no charge on those,
Right.
along the restaurants. Mike, you bring up a point I think that we touched upon. The main focus of this committee right now is to come up with the 30-some-odd spots. The rest of what we're talking about is similar to our conversation relative to down at the harbor, developing a parking down there. But that's down the road.
right, yeah.
Sidewalk.
The kiosk is down the road too, because,
Yeah, for the immediate season.
yes, it's gonna be.
I truly think it's gonna be the shuttle idea.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only way we can really make it work. So,
Just one thing on the kiosk, though, sometimes when, you throw an idea out there, somebody
Mhm.
may come online with that idea. Oh, I like that idea, even though we're thinking down the road, like the sidewalk thing, maybe a down the road thing. Personally, I think that should be in the forefront, right? That's something we should make happen, or do the best we can to make happen, So sometimes when you throw those ideas out there, they kind of build up a life of their own, especially if there's somebody who's excited about that idea. I just, personally, just my own feeling on it. I just think it's, I can just see some older folks, how does this thing work? I don't understand that, or younger folks, they just don't understand it, and they're just trying to get.
Me, I go to
Yeah.
ones and I go, what?
And it's raining
what do
out,
I
and you're trying to
do?
get your phone for your credit card, and you're trying to, what do you think's that, and it's not working, and you ever go to those car washes?
Yes.
And they have the automatic thing, how many times?
These are easier than the car wash. I
No,
know
but
exactly
you know
what
I'm
you're
saying? It's
talking
like, there's a
about.
whole backup and.
You mean like the
I can't
one
figure
down
this
on
thing out.
28 in
There's
Chatham?
no button
It's
trying to get
terrible.
the attendant, right?
My husband's my car washer, so
Yeah.
give him a beer and he washes it.
Mr. Chair, update on I watched the selectmen's meeting the other day regarding the sidewalk,
Yes.
and I believe Mr. McManus stated that the DOT and some politicians were going to be meeting there. Were you at that meeting?
yes, what he had mentioned was that they were going to be in Barnstable, at the courthouse down there for some other meeting with the commission, county commissioners, I guess. Just totally different subject than what we deal with, but Charlene and I and a few others were in on a conference call. She and I then, because of a connection that I have been working on trying to get some more information on that and to get it to be on a little bit more of a faster track. So we're still waiting to hear, but it's not out of the realm of happening. It's just we're waiting to get to the right people. So I don't know, in fact, that they will get to Harwich Port on the 8th, which is Friday. They may just stay in Barnstable. But,
Sounded like they were hoping to get them here.
yes, I had had a conversation afterwards with Mr. McManus, and he was not sure if they will get to Harwich Port, hopefully, but not a definitive.
Okay,
Mr. Chair, one other thing in regards to the kiosks,
yes.
if we can discuss it now. The other thought that came up was, do you do a 2-hour limit on parking? It eliminates beach parking, and it would eliminate employees parking there for an 8-hour shift.
Right.
Just something to throw, another thing to throw on the table.
Yeah.
Simple.
Right, I think that makes more sense, right? And
Yeah.
then it's kind of the honor system,
So
right?
you can even enforce that with
To
parking.
to a degree, right?
That-
I mean, you
and
can
something
do
like that, I think you can-
4 hours.
Right, but a lot of people probably won't, right? If you see that, you pull up there and you see that, like they do right next to my business on Cross Street there.
Yeah.
They do that, they have those two signs that they put up, the 2-hour parking. Some people do abuse it, and there's actually been some employees that I've gone out and spoken to, but for the most part, it's an honor system, right? And it does work, I think it is effective, and I agree with you.
On that, John, could we have
idea.
someone from Park and Rec help monitor that? Like if we did validating tickets in the chamber, to have your 2-hour, I mean, how would we get that maybe to work?
I just think the honor system, I really do. I think for most people, if you see that, right, you're gonna be, okay, I gotta, because you're thinking that maybe somebody's gonna monitor it, somebody may give me a ticket, I don't know, but I think it's an honor system, and I think that it sends the message, right? It's like 2-hour parking, like you said, it's not beach parking, you're not gonna be here all day, it's not employee parking.
But there's also not anyone saying that it's not beach parking. And that, the beach parking as well as we've noticed, the employee parking, there's no signs out there that say that, so yes, we would hope that everyone would just kind of,
Not
There
everybody.
shouldn't be any hoping. If it says 2-hour parking, you should be smart enough to know.
Yeah, most people
That means
will.
you can't go to the beach for 6 hours and
Right.
leave your car here.
Right, and
That's
most
just-
people will,
yeah.
just,
so, yeah.
not everybody will.
Should be.
There's gonna be
Should
somebody
be.
who's.
Right.
you know,
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
Not only does it have to say a limit of 2-hour parking, but it says what the fine is.
Sure.
You've got it, otherwise nobody's gonna care.
Right.
There's an educational process in something like this, and one of it is, with regard to the parking, if there is going to be somebody from the rec who is going to participate in some capacities in enforcement, people like to be notified, and I agree with you as far as having the honor system. However, if the honor system needs to be tweaked a bit by leaving notifications on a car. Because usually what happens is, back in the day, you'd carry a piece of chalk, and you mark the wheel.
Yep.
And then you'd come back, and if the person had overstayed their 2 hours, you'd leave it on the window. That way there, they knew somebody was actually paying attention. Then the next time around, they'd be more cognizant. If they go back in there, they won't be shocked if there's some sort of a fine of some nature.
Because if someone's doing it, there's a good
Yes.
chance, if they do it Monday and they get away with it, they're gonna do it.
They're gonna do it
Tuesday.
Tuesday. There's no question about it. You're absolutely right. Yeah, they'll do it the
It
second
just,
time around.
it seems to be a simple,
And it's more of a sort of partnership with the community, whereas they've been notified,
Right.
they're not out being, so,
Yeah, we want you to come here, we want you to
That's
enjoy,
right.
we want you to. you know,
absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, but we don't wanna,
there are rules, so.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
just wanna abuse the system, so to
Right.
speak.
So anyways, that would be interesting with regard to Saguatucket and the sidewalk down there. But that's gonna be something way down the road by the sounds of things.
Hopefully not way down the road. Hopefully, after the conversations that I've had,
Yeah.
I'm hoping not.
Does that fall under the jurisdiction of Matt Beaton down in Boston? He's the young man that's, shouldn't say young man, he's 40-something years old now.
Who's he with?
He is he's the head of, here I go. He is the head of the State Commission for, I'd have to Google him. I
His
forgot that.
name has not
No,
popped
yeah.
up in any of the
It
Any of
has,
the
it
conversations
has,
we've
it
had.
has an awards for various parts of the Cape. And I'm at a loss right now. I should have looked at it before I came here, because I know he has some involvement with the finances, and I think he's had some involvement with the rail trail, and items like that, it goes through his office. But anyway,
Oh, is he with Conservation and Recreation?
he could be.
Okay, if he is, then no,
No,
yeah,
okay.
yep, yep.
Signs.
No, if that is put forward as, a little bit of a campaign along with safety concerns, I have seen people walking down there, there's some people that walk down to the health care facility now
Yeah.
too, and, they're walking on, there's no sidewalk there, right, so that's a dangerous, more
Yes.
dangerous spot, so if we were,
Oh, we've
Put
brought all
together.
that up,
yeah, okay.
yeah,
Yep.
So I'm purple.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
But I just thought maybe that would be,
That was the big thing, was safety. That was like spoken up, I can't even tell you how many times.
right.
But yeah, so,
and sidewalk's not on the agenda, just so we don't get too far afield.
Right.
True.
You know me,
And I appreciate you holding us to our,
okay.
all right,
So,
yes.
Kiosks we did.
All right, kiosk we did.
Draft report?
The draft report, but I think what I want to do is interrupt that draft report and refer to the public that's here, the two members of the public. Is there anybody who is from the public that wishes to have something to add to our discussion, as long as it has to do with the parking?
And if they do, they have to sit up there.
Yes, I have them coming. And whomever does step forward, please go up to the chair up there, introduce yourself.
And understanding that the board really can't get into too much
Right.
discussion, but can put it on a future agenda.
Will do.
Yeah, good morning. My name is Peter Hurst. I have the kite shop in Harwich. I want to thank all of you for putting in your time. This is, certainly a problem that we all have to deal with, and hopefully we can come to some kind of solution. I have a couple of questions here. First of all, Mike, in regard to, you're talking about the, the kiosk. I'm, the first thing I think of when I think of a kiosk, I think of someone pulling in, I think of confusion, I think of people down here on a vacation, I think of someone turning around and saying, forget it. And the worst thing about that is, you're creating sort of like a negative atmosphere. And we don't necessarily have that now, but, what happened, last year, and you've got to, all of us have to respect people who have spots, and they have all the right in the world to put up no parking. But, we see that, all over the community. And once again, the problem with that is that, someone pulls into one spot and they say, no parking. They go around, they see another spot, no parking. Well, off they go. They're not gonna come back, believe me. I've been here a long time, and I've gone through all this parking, between, 40 years ago. So I have a general idea of what's going on. John had a really good suggestion in regard to, like, the 2-hour parking. I think that's really good. I think, I don't think one has to put on, a fine. I think, as Alexander said, there's sort of like an honor system here. And you've got to sort of, understand that. I mean, 2 hours is probably, adequate enough for people to park, to walk around, maybe get a bite to eat, and be on their way. And of course, there are going to be people that are going to abuse it. I mean, that's the way it is. But I think the majority of people won't. I think they'll be understanding, realizing that there is sort of a problem at this particular time in Harwich. It's a really growing community. The selectmen are always talking about how this, the town is growing, and et cetera, et cetera. And, I will just bring this up, and I won't mention it again, but, I think that the town was absolutely remiss in not talking to Mr. Miller in regard to his parking area in the old Delia property. And from what I understand, and the last time I was at a meeting, they finally got around to it at 10 o'clock at night. I was like sound asleep. I really think that, if it's possible to sort of, maybe visit this possible solution again. I mean, Mr. Miller might not want to have anything to do with it. But if you're looking long-term, and you look down the road, the town, any town on the Cape, if that if there was a potential solution to parking and dealing with the potential growth of the community down the street, the town should have jumped right on that. Because I'm just baffled by the fact that, they really didn't. As Mr. Miller, and once again, he's come up with, maybe adding some spots, behind the Mad Minnow. So here's a gentleman who's made a pretty big investment in the community. And he's willing, there's a couple little sacrifices on his part as well. The town's solution to that was, when they finally got back to him in April was, why don't you do it, Mr. Miller? Well, that's not the proper way of dealing with things. They should have, but so be it. That's my little piece for that. But yeah, let me see, the 2-hour parking is good. Let me see, the honor system. Let's see, what else have I written down here? Yeah, also, I have one other suggestion in regard to when you're, whether you're coming from Dennis going to Chatham, or you're coming from Chatham going to Dennis. And, I see this all the time. I see people coming through town, and I see, by the time they get to the town parking lot, they'll slow down, but they'll continue going, because there's no direct sign, big sign saying parking. And you could very easily resolve that by putting a sign like this, and just put P-A-R-K-I-N-G in big letters. So they're coming this way, and they're coming that way, and it's not going to be too late for them to decide to pull into the place. Cindy's done a wonderful job putting up signs as we have them today, but they're not big enough. You've really got to see something. People are on vacation. They're going through town. They're coming through town. And remember, Harwich is a growing community, and we all understand that, and we all should be very thankful for that. But when people are on vacation, if they'll go to another town. I mean, it's not like we have something that's really unique, so to speak, as far as shops go. I mean, we have wonderful stores, et cetera, but a lot of things certainly can be found in other communities. So one doesn't want to deal with, a person driving through with their kids, and just moving on. I think that also would be very helpful. Notification. The shuttle, I think for whether this is a temporary or a permanent fix, I don't know. Once again, I appreciate all the time you folks are putting into this. These are just my feelings in regard to that. I think it's a good idea. But, I'm thinking of cost, and I think of, the different shifts that we have in the community between restaurants and stores. I mean, I have 13 kids that work for me in the summer, and a lot of them, fortunately, live in the community. They can walk to work. I have a couple of parking spaces behind the shop, which are utilized by myself and one other person, and we haven't really had too many issues. We especially the kids that work for me, the other kids that have licenses, understand that there's an issue. So they're quite conscientious about if they have to park someplace, they'll park all the way down in the parking lot if necessary. I really try to impress that upon them, that these parking spots are for visitors. That's go as far away as you can, and it takes you 2 minutes to walk to the store, so don't worry about it. It just seems to me that shuttle will be moving all day long, and
Let me just back up for a second with
Yeah.
regard to the parking. The idea is to provide additional spaces in the current public parking lot,
Yeah.
which are currently taken by employees,
correct.
and the off-site parking, which would be handled transportation-wise by the shuttle. And that shuttle will be going on certain hours as they correspond to the working hours of the folks downtown. That cars would be parked, as I'm sure you've been following it, up on Bank Street at the old
Fire station.
Harbor Master's Office Fire Station, yes. That way they're anticipating the freeing up of those parking spaces for your customers and the other
Right.
retail customers down there. And then the employees would be, this wouldn't be an ongoing shuttle for the entire day. It'll be coordinated with the working shifts of the majority of the business community downtown.
Oh, no, I mean, I agree with you wholeheartedly in regard to that. Yeah, I think it's certainly like maybe even more so than a temporary fix. I think probably if people get used to doing that, and they'll understand that, it's really not an inconvenience. It's like 5 minutes, it's not a big deal. So that's the whole thing, I think, of just, we all have to sort of educate the people who are working for us, the importance of utilizing this shuttle. And, I think that'll probably work out, and that's good. So at this time, I think that is it. Let me see, excuse me if I wrote anything else down here. Okay, that's great. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
I express my
Thanks,
appreciation you coming in. It's nice to have somebody from the business community to give us some input. And again, thank you very much, Mr. Hurst, for
Yeah,
coming
sure.
in.
Thanks so much. Appreciate
Peter
it.
was actually one that replied to my email, so I do know how many spots he has and what he needs. So, and it's good to see him back. He's been on a little holiday vacation.
Back to work.
John, you have something to say?
Yeah, just in regards to the thought on the 2-hour parking, something to consider if we decide to even look at that, it'd be 9 to 5. I don't think it needs to be at night. It's gonna
Right.
mess with the dining.
Right.
Because you might have an hour and a half wait. So just to make sure that was my thought on that, to be clear.
And plus with that, we're also working on having some other locations for
Sure.
the nighttime parking
Yeah.
available. So that, and we had talked about that, the 9 to 5 would be just, make more sense on that.
Yes, come right up.
Just as Ralph Porter, just to comment on the parking at the lot. If you don't put a limit on it, I know that one thing that we observed during the summer, the same cars were there all day long. And, I mean, it's nice to be good to people, but, I did a lot of vacationing, and I went to a lot of places where I had to pay to park. I did not go back because of that. I don't really think that would drive people away. And I think unless you do something like that, it's going to be just a paper issue. Maybe somebody gets a warning the first time, and a reminder that after that, if they park again, they're going to get a fine. That will be fine. Whether 2 hours is long enough, I don't know, but it would seem like it would be to me. But I think there has to be some teeth in it in order for it to work.
And I know we spoken to John at the rec meeting the other night. Again, it's an education thing. And where the chamber sells the beach stickers 7 days a week through the whole season, that's going to be another key thing to just let people know. And we have those welcome back with the volunteers and educate them of what's happened over the winter while they've been gone. So this will be then one of the big things, because they do regulate it, and they are the ones that see everyone coming in, whether they're asking where the bathroom is, where, this, that, or the other thing is, they're going to be the people that are going to help us really regulate this too. So I think, yeah, definitely the 2 hour would be, and then they can explain it too. And then when I'm there selling the beach stickers, we'll let them know. And it's all in perception. As long as it's a positive thing, when you're telling people, instead of making it a negative, it will work. People will embrace it. So, because everyone does, as we've all said, they do enjoy coming to town.
And Mr. Chair, one other thing that to kind of go along with that, what Peter said as well, is like if you, that parking sign, if we did change that parking sign, because some people who are coming through here, they're not going to the beach, they're just driving around on vacation, and hey, this is a cute little community, let me pull in.
Right.
They see that parking sign, and maybe below that, it would say, 9 to 5, 2 hour parking only, something to that effect. So if they're not familiar with the community and they just want to go in for, a bite to eat, they're maybe going to some other town. I don't know why they would do that, but I guess it's possible. But they want to go to a restaurant and have a bite to eat. They're going to see the parking sign, they're going to pull in, maybe then they go to Peter's store down the street to get, some candy or whatever after their lunch. But they'll see that sign and they'll see the 2 hour parking. And I think if you're not familiar with it, you're not gonna, that again will be the honor system. And I don't think people are gonna really abuse that. I think that's gonna be, you know, for people who are just coming by on vacation, the people that you're talking about that are here for beach stickers are people who are staying for a week or
Right.
2 weeks or whatever. And then, but the employees, I think that's the biggest thing, if we can work that piece of it, is gonna be
Yeah.
a huge relief to our park.
Again, thank you, Mr. Porter.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
I think the standard, whatever, the parking signs, just with the big P. I mean, you go to Boston.
Right.
Those things jump out at you like a sore thumb. It's just a big blue sign with a P in the middle.
Right.
It's
That's
a universal
good.
sign.
Right.
Everybody knows what it stands for.
Right.
And Charlene, there's gonna be some limit on size of signs, correct?
Not for directional or municipal, we're
Okay.
pretty much exempt from that, but also, you know, we don't want huge signs. It
Right.
needs to be
Right.
tasteful.
Right.
Right.
And it's also a state road, so we need to be mindful of that.
Right.
Getting back to what Mike said in this entire discussion, the center of town, Harwich itself, I know there's been some discussion of how to slow traffic down up there in order to get the businesses going. That sign, as you described it, on 28, if people are looking to park, they're going to slow down. And as they slow down on 28, instead of just breezing right on through 28, going in either direction, they might slow down and, as you say, take a closer look at the community, because there is something, they've seen the sign, they're gonna take advantage of it and use it. It just may have an overall impact on a plus side for the Howardsport community and business community specifically, you know. So,
And one more comment on the sign, then, Mr. Chair, I have to leave it. I have another appointment. But I wonder if it would be possible to have two signs that could flip over. The big P, 2-hour limit from 9 to 5, and then at 5 o'clock, somebody from, and I'll volunteer, somebody from the chamber, because they're there. You know, they're there more consistently. At 5 o'clock, you flip it over, it just says parking.
Right.
Well, but if it only says, you know, 2-hour parking 9 to 5, I mean, you see those all the time all over the place. I don't,
But I'm trying to keep the sign as easy, simple as possible. Just a thought for a future discussion.
I don't know if that's an additional position as meter maid, but I don't know, I don't think it's going to fit into your current one.
she'd have to get a ladder to flip the sign over.
No, I can reach.
I'll walk,
I just have one question here in regard to that.
If you're,
Yeah. My question is, so if you do have that parking, it's a sign that just says P on it. Now, when you pull in there, are your plans on having like individual signs saying, 2-hour parking for the spots?
I think you're gonna have to, yeah.
So
I
is
actually
that
put that on.
overkill? Does that make it too confusing?
I think if you just have the P,
P, and you pull in and you see it says 2-hour parking and things, I think that makes it a lot easier too.
Yeah.
You know, so,
Yeah.
thanks.
Thank you.
and I know when I had the sign changed on the thing from municipal parking to public parking, I just called DPW, talked to them, so I'll just reach out, see if they've got some of those Ps, and then what it will take regarding the 9 to 5.
that's the Board of Selectmen.
Right, but I'll have, bring the information back so then we can then put in our report for the Board of Selectmen. These are all the facts that we found, just so that we're not waiting to have to come up with more things.
Sure.
Do we
Sure.
need Board of Selectmen approval just to put a parking sign up there?
If you're putting it 9 to 5, you do.
No, straight, if you just
The P?
standard
Just P,
universal
yeah.
I don't think so. I think you
Okay.
want to let them know, but
Yeah,
to me, I think that would be part of the report, so they're aware of it and they can, say, great idea,
That's
glad
part
we
of the
thought of it.
Right,
And so that was,
They just say
that was a nice segue, though, into the next one, which is the discussion of the working draft report for the Select Board. Oh, bye, John, thank you.
Thanks.
Today is the 6th. We have one more meeting on the 26th.
No, you have one on the 19th.
The
and the
19th, then the
26th, yeah.
26th, okay. So that'll take us into April. What was the date
Which we had said we wanted to be on their,
agenda by
On the March 19th.
the April 16th.
April 16th?
Yep.
Yeah,
So it needs to be on the April 10th, get on the April 16th meeting I had.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the week before that, and again, I'm not here, so. The week before, I'm not here. I'm just saying, I'm not here.
So I think getting, with that, Mr. Chair, I think if we get the information from Cape Destinations on that, then information on getting signs for the 9 to 5 2-hour parking,
Yes.
those will then be our two suggestions to solve the challenge.
Okay. How's the board feel if we ask would Cape Destination be willing to come in so we can publicly just sit here and discuss this with them? Did that seem reasonable to ask them to come in and?
Well, let me
Again,
ask
I don't
you.
want to keep beating a,
I think
Or-
because it's going through the chamber and the town
Okay.
really isn't
all right. You answered it.
involved
I'm
in,
with her on that,
I'm with you too now.
yeah.
that I think
I'm just trying to figure out what we're talking about at this point,
Yep.
because.
I'll get the
I thought we were on
information
this.
from them, so then we can go forward, and I'll just let you know what I
Okay.
had.
So where I'm sitting here is at on B, which is discussing working draft. Is that different than what you have?
No, that's,
Oh, okay.
no, I was discuss working draft plan and report to the
Right.
selectmen. I did say
I don't know if it threw you a curve.
the timeline was discussed for the report to the selectmen.
All right.
But then you mentioned only 2 things we're recommending. I think we're actually recommending more than 2
Yeah.
things.
What else?
Well, we've got the,
Well, the site for the off-site,
and then the continued no parking signs. I think we want to reemphasize that,
Right.
you know, for large events.
right,
So the third, would be the 2-hour parking limitation, 9 to
Right.
5.
Yes.
We could do something with the
the
road
P,
sign,
yep,
you know, the P or.
Yeah.
yeah.
And including additional signage on 28
Yes.
Right,
Right.
yep.
for the parking lot. I'm just gonna do quote, P unquote,
Okay.
parking.
So we do have a tentative time for the boats to be removed.
Yes. Yep.
Then, once that's removed, then we'll have a tentative timeframe in order to get it lined.
Mm-hmm. And it would be the selectmen, if the selectmen are gonna
Yes.
buy into this,
Yes.
and that's what I,
it's-
yeah, that's what I
Right.
tried to express in the draft that I prepared.
Let me throw this out there. Mr. McCaskill was here at our first meeting. And I'm quite sure he's paying attention to what's going on. Would it be of any advantage to have him here between now and before it goes to the selectmen, to get his sense as to,
Couldn't hurt,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
so.
Do you want him here on the 19th or the 26th?
why don't we do the 19th? Okay, the 19th. All right.
Were people okay with what I drafted?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. As always.
I wrote it in like 5 minutes. I was like, oh, I need to get this done.
You never say that. Must have taken an hour to 2 hours.
It was up here, I just had to get it here.
You're good at getting it done down there. All right, do we have any other business that was on for today that we haven't touched upon?
To make sure I work with him, John Carter.
No, I think I did everything I
And
told
you
you
and I
guys
will
was
work on the
going
agenda offline for the next meeting?
Yes, what I was just going to that end, I was going to mention, Mr. Hurst brought up the issue with, regarding Mr. Miller's property. I'm unfamiliar with the property, and I don't,
It's the land between Bayside Realty and Heather's Hairport, the grassy area.
oh, yeah, yeah. Would it be to the committee's advantage just to talk to Mr. Miller and maybe somewhere down in the future?
I can reach out to him, I know him, he's a client of mine, so I can reach out to him about that. I don't know, yeah, I don't know what his thoughts are on that. He did offer additional parking back, but I'll talk to John about that, I guess, right? Because that's, would be impacted by the
Yes,
planning.
out behind Mad Minnow, yes.
Right, because that could potentially do maybe
And
right
I
off of the,
Did explain to him how that could happen.
oh, okay. All right, maybe
Happy
just
to
let
have
me
the
know.
conversation
He's had-
again.
But he's just had some personal things going on, so his mind isn't focused. But I reached out to him when I saw it, I was just looking at this whole area and thought, gee, that's another spot. So he said, yeah, he'd be open to that, so. But I'll reach out to you and talk to you
Yeah.
about that, yeah.
All right, do we have anything further for today's meeting? Charlene, have you got anything?
I have nothing.
Cindy?
No, I am good.
Mike?
So, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Hurst, for coming. Appreciate it.
My pleasure, thank you.
Okay. May I have a motion to close the,
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all.